For most people, debt is a part of life. None of us like making those interest payments, but saving enough cash for really big purchases, say a home or college education, that isn't always possible. And in some cases, it isn't financially smart as well. Which is why the most obvious option that we end up with is taking a loan, which follows by a debt, small or large. So when you do take on debt at some point in your life, how can you tell when it's worth it? How do you know when the cost of interest is worth the benefits? This is where you need to know and understand what good and bad debts are. In a single sentence, good debt benefits your financial future, while bad debt harms it. And luckily, what you're buying often makes that distinction clear. Welcome to our channel, and today we will be talking about and understanding how different good and bad debts really are. You may have heard of debt being categorized as two types, good debt and bad debt. If we really have to define it, good debt generally means money owed for things that can help build wealth or increase income over time, such as student loans, mortgages, or a business loan. On the other hand, bad debt refers to things like credit cards or other consumer debt that do little to improve your financial outcome. Sound simple enough? Great, now let's move on to the confusions that arise when we talk about these. Before we even start talking about the kinds of debts and their implications, there certainly is an argument to be made that no debt is good debt. But as we did say before, there are certain instances which can be made possible if only you take a loan. While those kinds of loans are usually justifiable and will provide value to you or the person taking on your debt, there is another end of the spectrum that involves debt that's taken on carelessly. Which is why when we talk about how different these two debts are, most of the scenarios just involve such extremes. So, what are some things that are worth going into debt for, or rather that brings the load of a good debt on your shoulders? It's all those things that fulfill the saying, it takes money to make money. If this debt you take on helps you generate a steady income and increases your net worth, it's positivity galore. What examples of such things come to your mind? Let us start with a very basic example, student loans. It's needless to say that more the education a person has, it becomes much easier to find a high-paying job. An investment in a college or technical degree can often pay for itself within a few years of entering the workforce. If you turn to statistics, people with a bachelor's degree earn 66% more in their lifetime on average than those without a degree. In fact, you don't even have to struggle for years to complete your college education. Those who take on a small amount of debt to complete trade school also significantly increase their earnings potential, especially with today's current shortage of tradespeople. All in all, the more education and credibility you have, your chances of being hired increase, and so does your bank balance. But as we said a while ago, the comparison between good and bad debts can only be done in extremes. Student loans might sound like a good debt. To be honest, it really is, only up to a certain figure. When and how does student loans become a bad debt? Student loans can become a bad debt when the job you get pays much less than what you invested. This is why it is really important to consider all the short and long-term prospects of any field of study, as not all degrees have equal value. How could you avoid getting stuck in a spiral of bad debt when it comes to student loans? Follow the rule of thumb, do not borrow more than you expect to earn in your first year on the job. For example, if you're pursuing a master's in education and the average starting salary for someone from your school with that credential is $65,000, then you shouldn't take out more than $65,000 in loans to fund that degree. This guideline is simply based on the notion that with yearly salary increase, you should be able to keep up with the interest in your debt and pay it off with the standard 10-year repayment window. That said, if you're graduating into a shaky economy or otherwise unstable job market, you may aim to have even less debt. Realistically, it's not possible to anticipate a recession years in advance, so matriculating freshmen can't reasonably know their job prospects at expected time of graduation. Still, if you're in school now, look at the present situation and consider how much loans you can afford to pay back in the shortest span of time. Let's talk about another great example of good debt, mortgages. On the residential front, the simplest way often involves taking out a mortgage to buy a home, living in the home for a few decades, and then selling the home at a profit. In the meantime, you also enjoy the freedom of having your own home, plus an assortment of potential tax breaks not available to renters. If you know what you are doing, you can even use commercial real estate to generate a cash flow and eventual capital gain. The risk with good debt is that when we take on good debt, we make assumptions about the future based on our own goals and typical results in the past. Student loans, mortgages, and small business loans are the most common forms of good debt. But even good debt has its risks. You may not get a job after college, new businesses can fail. So how can you avoid these complications? Before taking on any debt, be it good or bad, it is always smart to carefully consider what return you expect to get. How do you expect life to look after taking on this good debt? And where could things go wrong? Keep a backup plan just in case things take a wrong turn. On the other hand, avoiding bad debts is much easier than thinking about how good debts can turn into bad debts. Credit card debt, especially when taken on for non-essential purchases, is undoubtedly bad debt. And interestingly, one of the most common mistakes made by people. Making only minimum payments with a 22% APR credit card, $500 in credit card debt would take over 4 years and almost $280 in interest to pay off. Another example is auto loans. You may need a car to get to work, but the type of car you choose to buy can make an auto loan a gray area for debt, or straight up bad debt. New cars depreciate as soon as you drive them off the lot, which could result in being underwater on your loan. And paying interest for years on an asset that is continually falling in value is harmful for your financial future. If you can't afford to pay cash for your car, choose well-maintained used vehicles that won't see the same decline in value as their new counterparts. In general, bad debt is any debt that is looking to exploit our desire for instant gratification, which is why it is easier to avoid it if you take calculated steps. Avoiding debt for consumer goods and entertainment or with high interest rates can go a long way in this scenario. At the end of the day, the biggest question that arises is, how do I choose the right debt? The answer is simple. Try to avoid any in the first place until and unless absolutely necessary. By always being conscious of the type and purpose of the debt you're taking on, you're protecting your future self. The right amount of good debt can increase your ability to save for the future, build wealth, and responsibly afford the things you want in life without bad debt.